Perfect.
Yo, what's going on today, boys? I got a new podcast here today with a nice little content creator named Jackson Thorne. Jackson, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Jackson, kind of talk to me about like your story. I've followed you for a long time. I love your stuff. Like, honestly, you probably one of the reasons why I started doing like a little bit of like baseball pitching, all that stuff, like everybody else. Kind of walk me through like from high school until now, like what you did to start like that journey, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate that. And high school, I was primarily a wrestler. I was like 2 or 3 years old. And then going season is really short turnaround. Had no idea what I was doing at the time and trying to do my own throwing program. Ended up long tossing like one of the first couple of days I was back into throwing. Kind of bugged out my shoulder. Had some elbow issues after that. Ended up having a torn UCL. So I had torn the UCL in my elbow. Had a bunch of complications come back from that because I was just trying to throw through it for way too long. Went through the entire spring season, entire summer ball season. Then finally got an appointment with some local doctor who does like hands and elbows and took an x-ray of it and was like, oh yeah, x-ray looks good. You just give you like PT for 8 weeks and then you're good to go. So can't do anything with a x-ray of the elbow. So did my 8 weeks of PT. After that, still had a ton of pain coming back. At that point, saw another doctor who's actually specialized in baseball players. Then got my MRI results, had two tears of the anterior band of my UCL. Had to get full reconstruction surgery from that point, and then came back, was doing like a gap year at the time with COVID and come back from surgery. Kind of messed up the recruiting process. Ended up committing to a D3 school. I was there for 2 years. Didn't really pitch much. Then committed to a D1 school to the transfer portal where velo went up from about 83, 86 to sitting like 89, 90 up to a 92. Played summer ball. That was enough for me to go to a D1 school. Had about 14 innings this year. Started off really good, kind of fell apart towards the end of the season, battling some fatigue, stuff like that. Wasn't really used to like the higher volume of throwing. And then spent the summer, this past summer at Driveline where I was working as a pitching trainer.
Yeah, I saw that. That was actually really cool. I was watching your videos. That was pretty sick, man. Doing those mocaps, those are tight. I know. Let's
Yeah,
kind of like go
exactly.
back a little bit. Like the beginning when you were injured, like what was the mental grind? Like, how did you push through those days of like having to go through a bunch of PT and just like being able to get back to like a place that you never thought you'd ever could be?
Yeah, a lot of it comes back to like that wrestling background I mentioned, where at the time wrestling was still like my main sport at the time, and I was like an assistant coach for my high school wrestling team, just kind of taking over from some like the JV wrestling team and helping out a little bit out with the varsity as well. So I was just kind of like so ingrained into like the practice schedule of that, where I was maintained my routines and kind of had those connections where if you're just by yourself and you're kind of isolated or you don't really have those same connections or you have no outlook for anything of actually having something enjoyable to look forward to is gonna really allow you to get like deeper into your own thoughts and like negative thoughts are gonna pop up at that point. And you have teammates that you enjoy being have things that you enjoy doing, it'll make the actual process of letting the body heal and taking that specific time that's allotted to taking care of your recovery, focusing fully on that. And then once you're past that, take your mind off of the actual surgery, the recovery, all that kind of stuff, and allowing your body to like recover because the other 22, 23 hours of a day that you're not in the PT clinic, like you're not going to be doing a ton more for your elbow that's actually going to help this process. You're probably going to be going down some like dark rabbit holes of thought processes or trying to overdo things that could lead to causing some further injury or setbacks that are just completely unneeded at the time where like there are plenty of benefits to going on like walks, doing some extra like mobility, anything like that. But when it actually comes down to like you trying to do too much that your body can't handle and the negative thought processes that can come with some of that stuff, it's gonna have a pretty detrimental effect where the risk reward ratio there is
Yeah, I
completely out
really
of
like
whack.
yeah, I really liked how you talked about like at the end of the day, like man, like yeah, it's like your career and everything, but like it's not like life or death. Like you know what I mean? Like obviously that's how coaches want you to make it, but you're like you got 23 more hours in the day to do anything else. But obviously it's tough during PT because my I have a lot of buddies that got TJ, and it was tough for them. So yeah, I completely understand for sure. From that point of view, not obviously I've never gotten TJ, but so kind of talk to me about like your gap year and then like going into like D3. Like why did you choose? Is it Marymount? Is that where you went?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so gap year was postgraduate school in Massachusetts here where I live. It's called the Winston School.
No,
So it's a
yeah.
pretty good school. We had, I think, about 13 or 14 kids go to D1 schools, probably like 22 or so kids play college baseball in total. So going from like just a public school here in Massachusetts to like a really good private school, kind of got to experience like what the actually good players do and like how they go about their day. And that was kind of something that helped me a lot where when you want something so badly, it's so easy to get into like the Superdome of I need to do this exact thing or overthink my entire delivery, anything along those lines of like trying to force an outcome to happen instead of like going into the process, working as hard as you can during that exact time when you're in the gym or when you're on the mound throwing or anything like that. And then just kind of step back and you can't force more to happen outside of those hours when you're working. And seeing how they went about their day and says that kind of made me step back and realize that force things to happen was you just saw my velo go down from 80 to 80s, upper 70s at summer. And then that really is what limited my options of moving into the college level. And I didn't really have many options there. A lot of people say they go D3 for the academic choice, but if you're throwing 94, you don't go to D3 for academics. If you're throwing 84, you go to D3 for the academics.
Nah, man, I'm a D3 grinder too. I know what you're talking about. Shit,
A
lost you.
little bit. Yeah.
I kind of lost you there for a second, but yeah, I was a D3 grinder too, man. So I understand like the whole thing with like no one's going to that school for academics. It's baseball and that's it. Like everybody on our team was just going just to play. And if you weren't gonna, and in the winter, like I played in Vermont, so obviously it's freaking negative 12 degrees every day until April, and even then it's like 30 degrees. So yeah, I understand for sure. So you like you said you went to like Superdome. You got Superdome and like you went from like 83 to like you said like what mid 70s?
Yeah, it was like 83, 86 to sitting like low 80s, barely touching 80 at times, upper 70s.
What was the cause of was that just like over mechanical analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. I really didn't have like I wasn't around those elite baseball players to kind of see like what they did and what their process was like and truly understand how they go about things where I was trying to force those outcomes to happen so badly. Come back from Tommy John, I was by myself for a lot of my throwing, just throwing into nets, throwing into screens, lacrosse nets, whatever it was, all by myself, videoing my throws, watching back frame by frame videos of 60% effort throws coming back, trying to force positions that guys throw 97 on a mound and I'm throwing 67 flat grounds,
Yeah, I feel
wondering
like you're
why I
calling
can't
me
get
out right
into
now.
trying to get into those same positions that an MLB pitcher is going to get into while you're in a return to throw program at 67 miles an hour. And you trying to think about how to get into those positions is just if you got into those positions, you'd be throwing 97, but you're supposed to throw 67 during a rehab program. You're not supposed to throw 97 on a mound. So they're completely different throws, they're completely different intensities. and you're trying to force too much to happen. That led to me being in game my senior year, starting off okay, and then by the middle and end of the season, I was in game thinking about my vertical shin angle or where my glove is in space when my foot lands, like where my torso angle is, all kinds of stuff like this, where it's just impossible to like actually focus on competing and having an external focus, where you're so just filled up with internal cues and thought processes.
Dude, that's literally like what happened to me in college. Like my sophomore and junior year, that's exactly what happened to me. I was so like mechanical analysis based. I wasn't doing any competing. So like I totally like understand that because like you feel so lost. I know it's different. I wasn't injured. I was just like being a mechanical freak, like thinking that every single throw I made like mattered in every single position. Like even when I was throwing at 20%, like you said. So yeah, I I went down that rabbit hole many times. So I completely understand. Um, and then like so kind of talk to me how you got like got to 90, like from going from 83 and then you went to 78, 79 to 80 and then now you're like what 88, 90, 92, right? How did you
Yes.
like go about like that plan? How did you plan that out like to see that success or achieve that?
Yeah, a lot of that at initial not trying to throwing hard, and that's gonna be like an external focus of whatever kind of throw it is, long toss, a pull down, whether you're on the mound, actually making the intent of trying to throw as hard as you can, not trying to get into a position to throw hard because that's not gonna let you throw hard. So just moving faster and having that actual athleticism behind my throws was a complete game changer from suddenly being in that like 85, 87, and then for connected performance. And he told me I needed for my throw. And from there, we started working on softball throws for me, a couple roll-ins, drop steps, some stuff like that. And that's where I saw a pretty quick jump from throwing mid 80s consistently to consistently being in the upper 80s.
Yeah, you how do you still work with what is it kinetic performance? Is that what it's called?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Do you so those guys really helped you out just from like an external focus standpoint because that's really what they focus on, right?
I
Yeah.
think I lost you there for a little bit. Can you repeat that?
No, you're good. I kind of lose you a little bit too, but so those
Yeah.
guys at kinetic performance like they really focus on like the external focus. Is that like why is that like the big key part of their like programming for like throwing if you're like struggling to throw harder?
Yeah, so a lot of it's going to come down to that you need that's going to force you to find the movement solution to throw hard out of that instead of telling you to try and get into that position. They'll force you to find a way into and out of that position where you can actually use it. And that's like your movement solution out of that drill is going to be what you need to throw hard. And instead of telling you to get there, they kind of force you to find a way into that. And that's going to be a position that's going to be way more comfortable making changes because a drill where the only way to throw the ball as hard or as far as possible is to get the mechanical solution that you're looking for, that's going to have a much more significant impact and make your brain a lot more comfortable and familiar with that movement right there.
Yeah, agreed for sure. Um, so like when you were at D3, were you what like separated you from everyone else to get you to that back to like D1? Because I know it's hard to go from D3 to D1 just from like a transfer portal basis. Like I think a lot of D3s like I think it takes a like doesn't it take a lot for you to get from like those two divisions like D3 a lot of D3 players usually don't come out to Division 1 after their first 2 years like how did you make that overcome that obstacle?
Yeah, I mean, someone who doesn't play, I didn't touch the mound my freshman year. My sophomore year, I faced four batters, so I wasn't really playing wise. Where a lot of people have some really good stats at D3 level that kind of give them that opportunity. A lot of it for me was just focusing on my own development, where a lot of players at D3 they're not really invested in their development. They enjoy the game of baseball. They enjoy having fun, going to practice, playing the games, getting results where I wasn't playing. I can't get those results. Like that's not an option for me. So I had to focus on my development, focus on my lifting, get a lot stronger, focus on my throw and actually learning to throw hard again. And by the end of my sophomore year there, when I was consistently throwing 89, 90 every single outing, that put me in a spot where going into summer ball, I'm able to go in and have a 1.7 ERA for the whole summer and had a good amount of Division One schools that I was talking to at that point. Ended up choosing St. Peter's, where pitching coach came from Wake Forest pitching lab and was with the Toronto Blue Jays for a couple of years. So he had a great resume at developing pitchers, and that made a really intriguing spot for me to go to out of the portal.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So you're going into your senior year this year?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I got you. I got you. So are you what's your like your goals for this fall for fall ball? Did you play summer ball? Or no, you were at a drive line. Well, what's your goals for fall ball and going into spring?
So into senior year, it's just gonna be trying to sell out for velo again at this point, where if I don't hit like a 94, 95, especially like from my arm slot, the career's over. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like truly forces you to lock in and
Yeah.
get those results where like your goal isn't to win games in September or October. Your goal is to win games in February through May. Process throughout the entire fall is going to be huge for me, where like as long as my velo and command are where they need to be, pitch shapes are fine for me, so they haven't always been an issue. Just making sure velo is consistently climbing throughout the whole fall, tracking my command stats, making sure command's going up and velo's going up, and that'll put me in a spot where I need to be throughout the entire spring,
Yeah.
opposed to worrying about how results I'm getting in the fall, where there's gonna be such small sample sizes, luck's gonna be a factor, the competition's gonna be a factor, all kinds of stuff like that, where you don't really have full control over your outcomes, over your stats, or anything like that. So worrying about your process of are you actually becoming a better pitcher and are you getting what you need out of the fall development wise so you can actually win games in the spring when it matters, get better.
Yeah, I really like that response for sure. So you were at Driveline this summer as a coach. What did you learn from being there like as a whole?
So much to learn. I can thing that I learned in particular.
Sorry, I lost you there for a
So
second.
you can,
No, you're good now, I think.
okay, so you can't put it into one true, like, this is what I learned. It's no at Driveline. There's a way to figure that out. There's a way to learn that. There's anyone you ever need to know to talk to them, have those conversations and learn every single day about anything, whether it's biomechanics, technology, motor learning, the brain, any area of focus or interest you have, you could just pursue that. And that was huge for me.
What was your like what did the mocap do for your like what was the mocap? How cool was that like seeing that for the first time? I don't know if you've ever seen that, but
Yeah, so I never thrown on a mocap myself or seen like what my exact numbers would be. And it
yeah.
was really interesting to see of like objective data that shows you like this is where the average 90-mile-an-hour thrower is. You're here or you're here, and you have to make those changes to fix these low-hanging fruits that are costing you very strongly in like the velocity category of if you're the eighth percentile for 90-mile-an-hour throwers and you're trying to throw 90 miles an hour, it's a good idea to get pretty good with that and be at least average in everything that's going to have strong correlations to the velocity. Where if you don't have that objective data, it's so easy for a coach to think that they see something when they really can't see what they're looking for with their naked eye from whatever angle they happen to be standing at. they can think they see things, and if you happen to have a coach that thinks they see something, tell you to make that change, you probably won't make that change. But even if you do, and you happen to make a change and throw harder, it's going to be their confirmation bias of like, oh, my great coaching helped me make that coaching decision right there that got you better. But you could have just happened to sequence better there, or you could have had a little bit more intent behind the throw than you had previously. And there's no like objective data that quantifies like, was this exactly what we were looking for? And that's going to be the big thing behind a mocap where it shows you like the exact limiting low-hanging fruits and what's your limiting factor in the throw, and it allowing you to kind of cross each of those bridges individually and make those specific adjustments compared to arbitrary data.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, that's a lot there for sure. Do you think that like social media is kind of not even social media, but just like coaches in general, like you talked about, do you think it's kind of killed like velocity and everything because everybody's just like looking at one specific part? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, it killed me, man. I remember I would just throw plyo balls, like I would get a set of plyo drills and I would just throw them into a wall and I expect to throw harder and like I never really like understood what you actually have to do to throw harder when I was like a freshman to sophomore to junior in college. So like, what did you do you think that that's like? Do you think that just people on the internet or just people that coach now just kill that?
I think that kind of plays into the business idea of coaching of like coaches make money from having you come in every week, get your pitching lesson, trying to cue you up after every single throw so you keep coming in. Where if a coach just tells you throw the ball with the radar gun as hard as you can, that'll be your session for today, and coming back next week or whenever, and just throw as hard as you can at the radar gun, and it'll force you to find more efficient movement patterns that are going to help you throw harder over time. That's not something that people are going to pay for. Where like people are going to pay for coaching and getting cues every single week of like, oh, what's the next drill I need or what's the next cue I need. This coach is telling me what I should do, and I think that's what is going to help them throw hard over time, and that's what people are paying for. So this demand for coaches to just feed into that is there, whether it gets results or not. People are paying for it, so coaches are going to be doing that forever. So the only way to combat that is just completely start your own path, and whether or not the other coaches are going to be trying to just give like lessons and cue guys up into whatever, like you have to use results as a way to show that what is has been done forever doesn't work and is producing more negative results than positive results. So there's really not a instant solution or anything along those lines. It's more so of just like completely separate your own path of coaches are going to do what they're going to do, players are going to buy into it. As long as you have the results, that's all you need.
Yeah, yeah. Do you if I so I got a funny question for you. If you had to pick like between three like lifting like two or three lifting um exercises to do if you had like you can only do three for the rest of your life as a pitcher, what would you do?
Go a barbell bench press, dumbbell pullover, and a sumo deadlift.
Okay.
Assuming those aren't, we're not including like any plyometrics like jumping or sprinting, just
Yeah.
strictly weight room. Say
Yeah.
those three probably cover like the entire body, hit strength. You can get some hypertrophy out of them as well. That's kind of three general exercises I think would be great for
A
a
thrower.
program if you could only do those.
Yeah. I get did you were you taught at a young age that barbell bench press was bad for pitchers? Like not at a young age, but in high school or even early college?
Yes. So um, that was everything that was part of my programs of I
Yeah.
had never barbell bench pressed probably until I got to college.
Yeah.
I started kind of understanding like what actually is going to make you throw harder. And the most studied lift at the time, and I'm sure now as well, was a barbell bench press has the highest correlation to velocity compared to any lift that was studied at the time. There was so many studies on it, but just people's subjective data of, oh, this person did a bench press and they got hurt, so must be a bad lift. Where people get hurt doing any lift, people get hurt sitting down on the couch or taking a shower. Like, can't tell people not to sit on a couch or take a shower. Like, yeah, there's always an injury risk with something, but if your shoulder is going to be moving at 4,000 degrees per second in the throw and you can't lower a bar down to your chest and press it, like you have much bigger issues. And you probably shouldn't be throwing if you have issues with a barbell bench press.
Yeah, I agree. I started benching a couple years ago because like I started figuring out like it actually does help your velocity a lot. And yeah, so I completely agree with that because I was told at such a young age that benching was just gonna kill your velocity. So yeah, I
Yeah.
got and then like what are your three like throwing variations? I'm not gonna say drills because that's kind of like a you know, we don't really like saying drills, but like what's your three throwing variations you would only do if you had to?
So I'd start with one for arm action, which would probably be a seated throw on a box. You just sit down on a box, preferably high enough where your feet aren't touching the ground. So you're a little over knee height, sit on the box and throw, where it takes the entire lower half out of the throw. And if you're trying to long toss out of that or throw for a radar gun, you're gonna force yourself to find a way to clean up that arm action, have the most efficient arm action possible. Um, Next one I like probably be a roll in, where again it's gonna help have a more efficient arm action where you can't like lag that arm behind or do anything too weird with the arm where it gets you out of sync. It's gonna help with the block, help with rotation. A roll in's gonna be a really good drill for that. And then probably a pull down where you just get like as much momentum into the throw as possible, get the overspeed stimulus. So I think those three kind of cover the basis of arm action, cleaning up the lower half, get into a block, still helps with arm action, and then actually trying to move faster, improve velocity. A pull down is a great way to do that.
Yeah, I agree for sure. You're from Mass though, aren't you? You're from Mass, right?
I am, yeah.
Did you used to work with oh what's that? What are they called? They're in Connecticut. Um ATP, is that what they're called?
Oh, okay. Dr. Heenan, yeah, no, I never did.
Never?
No.
No. What part of Mass are you from?
What was that?
What part of Mass are you from?
20 minutes south of Boston.
No, I got a house. I got a place on Cape Cod, so I'm usually there for the 4th. My family's got a place up there, which is pretty sick. We go watch
Yeah,
the
Cape.
Cape League games, man. Those dudes are legit. Those dudes are
Yeah,
unbelievable.
absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, Jackson, I don't really got much else for you. I really appreciate you hopping on, man. It was good to talk to you and pick your brain a little bit. But yeah, that's all I really got, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Have a good day, man.
You as well.